My name is Laura Duncan. In this presentation titled Worthy, I will be comparing King Arthur to the Norse god Thor. Action and adventure stories have captured the attention of many people for ages. Today, because of the growing number of fans of these movies, the film industry and books have a specified category or genre for action and adventure. England's King Arthur and Thor are two heroes who are frequently portrayed in modern adventure stories. Both stories originate from long ago. The story of King Arthur began through Sir Thomas Malory and his story Mort d'Arthur, or The Death of Arthur, which was written in the Middle Ages. Thor's story originated through Norse mythology. Thor is the Norse god of lightning and thunder. He is often portrayed in a human form as a blond, muscular male wielding a hammer. It's possible that the fictional King Arthur was based on a real person in England's history, but Thor is almost certainly based purely on myth. These two mythological heroes are more similar than they appear on the surface. They both brandish magical weapons, are represented in modern culture, and presumably possess immortality. King Arthur's classic weapon, a sword called Excalibur, and Thor's weapon, a hammer called Mjolnir, are strikingly similar in their powers but differ greatly in their origin. The origin of the sword Excalibur is spoken of only briefly in Malory's work. The sword appears in a large block of marble stone at Christmas time in the church's courtyard while everyone is participating in Mass. An inscription on the sword reads, "Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all England." The book does not specify how the sword came to the courtyard, but the people speculate that God placed it there in order to determine who the rightful king of England should be. Arthur, not knowing of his royal blood, pulls the sword from the stone with ease, proving himself to be the rightful heir of the throne. In contrast to the origin of Excalibur, which is assumed to be from God, Thor's hammer Mjolnir was forged by dwarves. According to the myth, Thor's brother Loki suggested to the dwarves to make Mjolnir. In the popular Marvel film Thor, Odin, Thor's father, takes possession of the hammer after it is forged and uses it as his own. Unlike King Arthur being the first to wield Excalibur, the hammer belonged to and was used by someone else before Thor. Thor receives the hammer as a gift from his father when he has proven himself worthy of it. In the Marvel film, the inscription on the hammer reads, "Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor." This inscription is strikingly similar to the inscription on Excalibur. Both King Arthur and Thor wield magical weapons, and both men are displayed as worthy in their original tellings and in modern presentations. While stories of King Arthur and Thor are timeless, recent retellings have twisted the original stories to fit the interests of modern culture. Many popular films depicting King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table exist, including the 1998 Quest for Camelot, the 2017 King Arthur Legend of the Sword, and many others. Films such as these preserve the chivalrous nature of King Arthur and many of the medieval elements, but they alter key components to capture the attention of modern viewers. In the film King Arthur Legend of the Sword, Excalibur is stuck in the back of Arthur's father, who then turns to stone and sinks to the bottom of a lake, rather than the sword being stuck in a rock in the churchyard. The story of Thor has been altered in modern retellings as well. The most famous films about Thor are Marvel's Thor and The Avengers. These movies alter the mythology of Thor in order to increase thematic elements and add drama. In the original myth, Thor marries a fellow Norse woman named Sif and has 2 children with her. However, in the Marvel films, Thor falls in love with a woman on Earth named Jane. The mythologies of both King Arthur and Thor have been adapted for film, but much of the original stories are lacking representation. King Arthur and Thor have been immortalized through modern presentations, but their mythological stories also present them as immortal. King Arthur's father was King Uther, so Arthur has royal blood, which allowed him to pull Excalibur from the stone. Malory's story ends with an assumption that though many believe King Arthur has died, they expect him to return to fight for England in their greatest need. King Arthur was never presented as anything but human, but his anticipated return paints him in an immortal light. Unlike King Arthur, Thor does not die in his mythology. He is a Norse god, so he is presumed to be immortal. The myth of King Arthur and his return increase the suspense of his story, but the myth of Thor falls short of that suspense because of his immortal nature. King Arthur and Thor are mythological heroes in their own right, both worthy of wielding magical weapons and living immortally. While their stories have been distorted by modern media, the magnificent mythologies are still well known by many. These tales of defeat and triumph serve as examples of heroic attitudes for all who know their stories, showing what it means to be worthy.